Take me through that time period. What was the decision to move to Mexico? What'd you learn there?
By 96, I was, turning, I think I turned 35 that year. So, I realized that there wasn't, I wanted to try something, try to, shake my training up a little bit. And I think sometimes we hit plateaus, and particularly as we age, we want to find something, tap into something new maybe, or try to tweak things a little bit. So as a result of that, going into the Olympic trials in 1996, I had made friends with a guy named Herman Silva, who really was Mexico's top marathoner at the time. And Mexico, actually, at the time, if you look back, they had a whole group of guys, 3, 4, 5 guys who were very relevant on the world scene. There was Herman Silva, and and he had a training companion. They went 1-2 at the New York City Marathon. Herman, I think, won it twice. And these were guys that I was running against week in, week out, because they would also run the roads, the shorter distances as well. So and speaking Spanish, having lived in Spain for 2 years and getting my minor in Spanish, it was not difficult for me to carry on good conversations with these guys. And I actually looked at a couple of things, because the Japanese were very successful in the marathon as well. They didn't have the masses that were doing so well like they are now, but they had individuals and groups that I was going, this would be cool to go over to Japan, but the language barrier I felt like was just going to be too insurmountable. And so I reached out to Herman and told him that I'd love to come down and just train with those guys and see. And he had and asked him if he had any apartments or a place where I could live down in Toluca, Mexico, just outside of Mexico City, where they were living. He said, "Yeah, come on down." He said, "I got an extra place at my condo. You can just stay with us for a time, see if you like it, whatever." So I went down there would have been the winter of 1995, because the trials were going to be in 1996 in that springtime or late winter, early spring. And so I went down to Mexico and spent about 4 or 5 weeks there for one stint, and then went down for another couple months. And just really loved it. It was awesome. It was cheap because you were down in Mexico, so your money went pretty far relative to the pesos and whatever. But I just kind of immersed myself in with that Mexican training group, and Rodolfo Gomez was their coach, or at least their advisor. Herman wasn't working as closely with him as he had previously, but I learned a lot of at least the Mexican system at the time, what they were doing. They were working really hard Monday, Wednesday, Friday, long run on Saturday, take Sunday really easy. They were doing, 15 by a K with 60 seconds rest. They were doing 25 by 400. They were doing extended tempo runs of, 8, 9, 10 miles. They were doing repeat 3Ks, 5 by 3K, short rest. All of these things are still workouts that I will employ every now and then. So it was really fun for me to kind of immerse myself in that. And I got really fit. I thought I was going to go and just shred the 1996 trials. And to tell you the truth, I think I just overcooked myself, because I came back and I was like flat as a pancake and just had overdone it. So, but I don't have any doubt that there were some great things that came from the system. There was a Japanese runner who was down there training with us, who we would just rock in workouts, and was nowhere even close to us. Kanjiro was his name, and he was hilarious. And I think within that same time window, he would, he just couldn't do anything anywhere close to what we were doing. And then I think he ended up running, I think at the time it was the Japanese record, or it was one of the, he ran, I believe, 207 something. And we were all just in shock and awe and going, well, if he can do that, then we can run, 227, 26, which would have been probably the world record at the time. But anyway, it was a great learning experience for me. I think it was a necessary step for me. Looking back on it, I didn't know that I'd end up coaching marathoners necessarily. I was just more concerned about this one marathoner that I was coaching. And And so I felt like it was a great kind of learning experience down there. A training buddy of mine, Paul Pilkington, came down for that second stint, and we had um, great workouts down there. And Paul came back, and he was fried too. So neither of us ran that great at the trials, but I think we both learned a lot that benefited us in our coaching professions.